So something's been bothering me recently. So I recently had somebody come up to me and tell me that their axle nuts were really convenient because they could turn them by hand. And I don't mean like turn by hand with a wrench. No, she actually told me they were super easy because she could turn them with her fingers. Now I don't know about y'all, but I know for a fact this is a recipe for disaster. This is crazy. I actually know people who had literal physical plastic surgery because the nylocks were wore out in their axle nuts and they came off while skating and they ate it and had to have reconstructive surgery. Let's just go ahead and look at the hows and whys behind all this stuff and how we can fix it. So let's get started. Here is a nylock nut. They're called a nylock nut because they have a nylon locking washer inside of them. Two components, the nut itself and a nylon washer that is crimped in. You can see the 6 crimp marks on the inside of this thing, or on the outside of this thing, that hold this in. Now, in typical fashion, which is popular these days, which is to change wheels 6, 7, 8 times a month, people are actually wearing out this nylon washer that's inside of the nut. Well, you can't change the nylock in it. You have to replace the whole nut, and it only costs a few cents. I'm going to show you just how easy it is. And here's my disclaimer real quick. If you have 7mm axles, then this isn't really going to work for you. How do you know if you have 7mm axles? Well, let's see. If you take your wheel off and you can put a pencil, a number 2 pencil, through your bearings, then you have an 8mm axle. If you have 7mm axles and you need to get new axle nuts, you need to go online for those, because most shops don't have that. Those are specialty sizes. But for all the 8mm users, it was pretty much this simple. We just rolled up into our local big box hardware store, and then we located the hardware section of the hardware store, no pun intended, but wherever the fasteners are at. So just ask an employee where the fasteners are at. Now they had this really handy thread sizer and gauge. If you're 8mm, it's gonna be a 5/16. Mine was a 5/16 24. And if you're not really sure about this, be sure to ask an employee for help. Once we tracked down the exact nuts that we were looking for, we simply test fit them and bought them. Now I will say that the price for 2 of them, almost $3, was absolutely outrageous. So the big box stores aren't always the best bet, but they'll work in a pinch. If you're in America, I highly recommend going to Ace Hardware, where they are a fraction of the cost, in fact cheaper than the manufacturers. Of course, if you like what you see, be sure to like, share, and subscribe these videos for more tips. And since I don't have a whole lot else to say, I'm just going to go ahead and let everything play out with some footage of me skating. Peace.